my fellow clickers and clackers. For all intents and purposes, my name is QubedSteak, and I'd like to welcome you all to the first and what I hope to be a new series of tech reviews on my channel, where we take a look at game-changing tech and decide if it's worth your precious loot. Let's jump right in and have some fun with some gaming tech that might just change the way PC gamers experience their games. Now, any respectable tech head on YouTube will tell you that mechanical switches on your keyboard is the way to go, especially for gaming. Whether it be Cherry MX Brown or Cherry MX Red, the only kind of cherries I waste my time with are the kind that go on my chocolate fudge sundaes. The less delicious mechanical brand seems to be critical for gamers who want either quick response times or stenographers who wage war with plebs in their spare time. If you're like me, you probably never really put too much thought into what kind of keyboard you used. I really just didn't think it mattered, and I thought it was crazy that some people have channels dedicated to the specificity of each model and brand. It would take a significant change in the game of keyboard manufacturing to raise my nose at all. What could make or break my next upgrade would be something unique that makes sense for a casual gamer, but at the same time isn't too far over the moon and can't be used for mundane multitasking. When I heard that such a thing as analog keyboards existed, I knew it'd be the perfect piece of tech to share with my audience. As with any new tech though, it'll be a toss of the die as to whether this analog gimmick will hold my dwindling attention span for any length of time. $250 is the asking price for the Huntsman V2 analog keyboard, a premium price for a premium device, boasting an uncommon quote-unquote next-gen feature. So what is an analog keyboard? The easiest way to explain what it does is to think of your average gamepad, so like an Xbox, PS5, or Switch controller. These controllers measure the level of response to the joystick and triggers, allowing for a range of directional speed or input. For a PC gamer, while you may only be able to toggle between stop and go on a traditional keyboard, the Huntsman's claim to fame is that you can now move at a speed more conducive with the amount of pressure you're applying to your keys, just like a joystick. We'll find out in a moment just how much of a difference this makes for gaming. Out of the box, there's much to be desired for the price point. By that, I don't expect the keyboard to be laid in gold, although that would be pretty cool, but I would expect some style outside of just RGB. At first glance, you wouldn't think that this is the next generation of keyboard tailored for gaming. It looks like your average office desktop keyboard. Maybe that's what your average user wants, but to me, it feels a little boring. Everything about this keyboard is heavy, like ridiculously heavy. Not heavy metal heavy, but like tie down Barney the Purple Dinosaur parade balloon heavy, and I'm not exactly sure why. Even the included magnetically attached wrist rest has some heft to it. I'm not sure if this bothers most gamers, but if you're looking for something indiscreet, sleek, and sexy, this is not the Ferrari Spider of keyboards. It's more like the Ford Taurus wagon. That said, the leather trim of the rest bar is cozy. You can use it to soften the concrete you'll be sleeping on after splurging for the holidays. As far as quality goes, the Huntsman is solidly manufactured. The keys are neither Cherry MX Brown or Red, but they do feel well put together, featuring an advanced molding process. Each key provides a satisfying springy click. I wouldn't pit them against a mechanical keyboard with cherries, as I've yet to own one, but I do think it gives you an idea of what it would be like to own a mechanical keyboard with premium switches. But you probably don't want to buy something that makes you wish you had purchased something else. We'll see in a bit if the Huntsman lives up to its name with its analog selling point. Now let's talk about functionality. What is it like to use an analog keyboard? First and foremost, it's not what you think. For the price point and weight, you'd be expecting to have some resistance or some kind of physical response in the travel of each keystroke. There is a lack of this. Therefore, the lightest touch is still easily lost as a full-on actuation. In a practical application, in order to hit the sweet spot between walking and running or idling to pedal on the floor, you have to give the keyboard the lightest of love taps, which doesn't feel natural with a keyboard. Not to mention that this can be a serious challenge in fast-paced action scenarios. Most users are used to toggling between one action or another, nothing in between. You may only notice the benefit of analog mapping in titles where you're sneaking about, where moving slowly has some tactical benefit, like not being heard by NPCs or other players. In this vein, I think of Deus Ex, Alien Isolation, Splinter Cell, or Dishonored. In most FPS Battle Royale style titles though, like Warzone, Apex Legends, or Fortnite, I'd imagine that the analog feature of this keyboard will be largely underappreciated. Think about the PS5 controller and its adaptive responsiveness or the Xbox Series 2 Elite controller with adjustable tension thumbsticks and trigger locks. Feeling physically connected to what's happening on screen is, or at least should be, the goal of any feature set. The keyboard does well in providing a large measure of freedom in mapping your keys and adjusting their digital responsiveness. This is all done in the Synapse application. Again though, you will not notice any change in physical responsiveness, as I don't think we're anywhere near that type of technology, so you'll have to jump into a game to get a feel for what works and what doesn't. Personally, I like the response of my keys to be slow and deliberate, and while the Synapse application provides sensitivity adjustments, I never felt that smooth roll-on of pace and movement speed. Also, it's important to note that not all games can simply map movement to the left joystick. While this may work for most FPS titles, for most vehicle games you throttle up or accelerate with W, decelerate with S, and turn left or right with A and D. You'll need to create a profile for each game you're playing with this in mind, and don't forget to add a profile for regular typing that you can switch to when your gaming session is over. You'll find that some keys are still in game mode when trying to type out a document and will simply not work. This back and forth can be rather frustrating, especially when trying to chat with friends mid-game. On the topic of speed, I did try some titles where I figured an analog input would really shine, and that would be your average racing game. Now I know what you're thinking, who plays a racing title like Forza or Rally with a keyboard and mouse? Well, impractical as it may be, I figured this would be a good way to get a feel for the settings and really see what this keyboard is capable of. Again though, I didn't find the analog actuation to be all that useful. Because of the natural gradualness of acceleration for racing games, you don't need to lightly touch a key, but rather you feather it between full on or full off positions in order to maintain a cruising speed. In layman terms, I kept finding myself mashing the keys with no regard for subtlety. I simply wanted to go fast when the road was open, feather left or right in turns, and hammer the brake key in corners. There was no in-between for me where I found the analog actuation useful. At the end of the day, if you want something that feels like a gamepad, just get a gamepad. There are so many benefits to doing so: comfort, convenience, style, and there's nothing wrong with switching between both. Whatever you find works for your gaming experience, one or the other, but I wouldn't make the investment of blending both, as keypads and gamepads are two separate worlds for two separate playing styles. Controllers have gotten so sexy that I can't ignore picking an Elite one up for a review one day. Let me know in the comments if that's something you guys want to see in the future. With all that said and done, I want to thank you all so very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe for more tech and gaming content coming at you straight from the Polyverse, and Godspeed your return.